Good morning everyone. This is class 12th, subject chemistry, chapter number 9, coordination compounds, lecture number 7. In this lecture, I will be discussing color in coordination compounds, limitations of crystal field theory, and bonding in metal carbonyls. And at the end, I will discuss homework solution of lecture number 6. So in the last lecture, we discussed the crystal field theory. Now next is color in coordination compounds. Color in coordination compounds can be readily explained in terms of crystal field theory. So here some examples are given. For example, this is the complex of copper CuH2O4 2 positive, which is blue in color, and this is the complex of cobalt, that is CuCN 6 3 negative, which is pale yellow in color. Now how to explain the color in coordination compounds using crystal field theory? So let us take the example of one coordination compound. This is the complex of titanium TiH2O6 3 positive, which is violet in color. Now here the oxidation number of titanium is +3, and in +3 the electronic configuration is 3d1. Now if we want to write down the electronic configuration in terms of crystal field theory, then it will be T2G1 Eg0. It means that in T2G it has only one electron. Now this is the ground state electronic configuration for this complex. Now when this electron gets excited, now in excited state what will happen, or you can say when this electron, it will absorb light, so it will go to higher level. Now here T2G and Eg level are present. Now this electron, it will move to higher level, that is to Eg state. Now in excited state the electronic configuration will become T2G0 Eg1. That is, if the light corresponding to the energy of blue-green region is absorbed by the complex, it would excite the electron from T2G level to Eg level, and the electronic configuration will become T2G0 Eg1, and therefore the complex appears violet in color. So from here you can see that here DD transition is taking place because these are nothing but splitting of d orbitals. So here transition is taking place from D to D. So you can say that crystal field theory attributes the color of coordination compounds due to DD transition of the electron. Now second point in color in coordination compound is, in absence of ligand, crystal field splitting does not occur, and hence the substance is colorless. That is, in absence of ligand, crystal field splitting not takes place, and therefore the substance is colorless. For example, this is the complex of titanium TiH2O6 Cl3. Now removal of water makes it colorless. So if we remove these ligands, so this complex will become colorless. Second example is anhydrous copper sulfate is white, but CuSO4.5H2O is blue in color. So in case of anhydrous CuSO4, there is no ligand, but in case of CuSO4.5H2O, these water molecules, they will act as a ligand, and therefore this complex is blue in color. So in absence of ligand, crystal field splitting does not occur, and hence the substance is colorless. Now next example is, influence of ligand on the color of complex may be illustrated by considering the NiH2O6 2 positive complex. So here when we dissolve nickel chloride in water, so this complex is formed. Now when we treat this complex is ethane 1,2-diamine, that is a didentate ligand. So first reaction is when we treat NiH2O6 2 positive plus En. So En is a didentate ligand, so two water molecules are replaced by one En. So the complex will become NiH2O4 En 2 positive. Now NiH2O6 2 positive is green in color when this En replace two water molecules. This will be the complex, and this is pale blue in color. Now again when this complex is treated with one more En molecule, then again two water molecules are replaced, and the complex will become NiH2O, NiH2O2 En twice 2 positive. And in third step, NiH2O2 En2 2 positive is treated with one more En molecule, then all the water molecules are replaced by ethane 1,2-diamine and this complex is violet in color. So here we can see that color depends upon the ligand. When 6 water molecules are attached with nickel, so the color for this complex is green. But when all the water molecules are replaced by En, then the color changes to violet. Now here, water is a weak field ligand and ethane 1,2-diamine is a strong field ligand. So delta O is more in case of the second complex, that is tris ethane 1,2-diamine nickel 2 positive. So as we know that energy, that is Hc by lambda, so energy is inversely proportional to lambda. So delta O is also a type of energy. So in this case, the delta O is more, it means that the wavelength will be less, and that is why the color is different for this complex. So the color of coordination compounds depends upon the ligands which are attached to the central metal, atom or ion. Next is limitations of crystal field theory. So crystal field theory is successful in explaining the formation, structure, color and magnetic properties of coordination compounds to large extent. Whereas in crystal field theory, the limitation is, first, it treats the metal ligand bond as purely ionic and does not take into account the covalent character of the bond. So in the postulates of crystal field theory, the assumption is that the metal ligand bond is purely ionic, and this is the limitation of crystal field theory. Second is, it does not explain why anionic ligands are present at the low end of spectrochemical series. So these are the two limitations of crystal field theory. Now next topic is stability of coordination compounds. So the stability of coordination compounds or stability of a complex in solution refers to the degree of association between two species involved in the state of equilibrium. And the thermodynamic stability of a complex ion depends upon the strength of metal ligand bond. That is, stronger is the metal ligand bond, less is the dissociation in the solution, and hence greater will be the stability. So considering the reaction, M plus 4 ligand is in equilibrium with Ml4, and larger the stability constant, the higher proportion of Ml4 that exists in the solution. Now here we are writing 4 stability constant for the formation of this complex. That is, in first reaction, M plus 1 ligand is in equilibrium with Ml. Now if we want to write down the expression for rate constant, that will be equal to concentration of Ml divided by concentration of M into concentration of L. Now in second reaction, it is Ml plus L is giving Ml2. Now similarly we can write down the expression for this reaction, that will be K2. Now third is Ml2 plus L is giving Ml3. These are in equilibrium with each other and we can write K3. And fourth step is Ml3 plus L is in equilibrium with Ml4 and K4 is given by Ml4 divided by concentration of Ml3 and concentration of L. Now here in these reactions, K1, K2, K3 and K4 are stepwise stability constants, and the overall stability constant is given by, that is represented by beta, and that will be equal to Ml4 divided by concentration of M into concentration of L. So here we are writing the expression for this complex. So this will be equal to beta is equal to Ml4 divided by M into L raised to the power 4. Now this overall stability constant, that is equal to the product of stepwise stability constant. That is, the relationship between beta and K1, K2, K3, K4 is beta is equals to K1 into K2 into K3 into K4. That is, when we multiply these 4, we will get overall stability constant. So this beta is overall stability constant and these 4 rate constants are stepwise stability constant. So we can also call overall stability constant as association constant or formation constant, and instability constant or dissociation constant of coordination compound is defined as the reciprocal of formation constant. So in stability of coordination compounds, two important things are there: stability constant and instability constant. Stability constant, or you can say overall stability constant, that is represented by beta, and the relationship between beta and stepwise stability constant is beta is equals to K1 into K3 into K4 into, that is the product of stepwise stability constant, and instability constant is the reciprocal of overall stability constant. And larger is the stability constant, the higher proportion of that complex exists in the solution and more stable will be the complex. Now here one question is given: calculate the overall complex dissociation equilibrium constant for this complex, given that beta 4 for this complex is 2.1 into 10 to the power 13. So here overall stability constant is given, that is 2.1 into 10 to the power 13, and we have to calculate the overall complex dissociation constant. So the relationship between beta 4 and the dissociation constant is, overall dissociation constant is inverse or reciprocal of overall stability constant. So here the value for stability constant is given, that is 2.1 into 10 to the power 13. So overall stability constant is given by 1 by overall stability constant. Overall dissociation constant is given by 1 by beta 4. So this comes out to be 4.7 into 10 to the power minus 14. So this is the value of overall dissociation constant. Now next topic is bonding in metal carbonyls. So next is bonding in metal carbonyls. The homoleptic carbonyls, that is compound containing carbonyl ligands only, are formed by most of the transition metals, and these carbonyls have simple well-defined structures. For example, first compound is tetracarbonyl nickel, which is tetrahedral. This is the carbonyl compound of iron, that is pentacarbonyl iron, which is trigonal bipyramidal. Third is hexacarbonyl chromium, which is octahedral, and here are the two compounds in which two central metal atoms are there, that is here in this complex two manganese are there, and there is manganese bond in this complex, and in this complex two square pyramidal units, that is MnCO5, are joined by Mn bond. And the next is complex of cobalt, here CO2CO8, that is octacarbonyl dicobalt 0. So these are the structures of these complexes: NiCO4, that is tetrahedral, FeCO5, that is trigonal bipyramidal, and CrCO6, that is octahedral. This is the structure of Mn2CO10. Here manganese bond is there, and two MnCO5 units are joined by these two metal bonds. And this is the structure of CO2CO8. Here cobalt bond is there, and in between two cobalt, here two carbonyl are attached, and these are known as bridging carbonyl, and these CO they are known as terminal carbonyl. Now next thing is bonding in metal carbonyls, that is how carbon monoxide form bonds with metal. So here two types of bond formation will take place. First is formation of sigma bond, and second is formation of pi bond. Now in carbon monoxide, it contains lone pair, and these lone pairs are present on carbon. So in carbon monoxide, the lone pairs will be donated from carbon to metal. So first is formation of sigma bonds in metal carbonyls. So sigma bond is formed by donation of lone pair of electron on the carbonyl carbon into vacant orbital of metal. So first bond formation is formation of sigma bond, and this bond is formed by donation of lone pairs of electron on the carbonyl carbon into vacant d orbital of metal. So this is the first bond, that is sigma bond between the carbonyl carbon and the vacant orbital of metal. Now second is formation of pi bond. Now this carbon monoxide, it has anti-bonding pi star orbital and that is vacant. Now formation of pi bond takes place by the donation of a pair of electron from the filled d orbital of metal into vacant anti-bonding pi star orbital of carbon monoxide. So this pi bond is formed by donation of electron from a filled metal d orbital to anti-bonding pi star orbital of carbon monoxide. So here you can see that back bonding is taking place, that is from metal filled d orbital to vacant anti-bonding pi star orbital of carbon monoxide, and this bonding is also known as synergic bonding. So here again I am repeating, in metal carbonyls two bonds are formed. First bond is by the donation of lone pair of electron from carbon to vacant orbital of metal, and the pi bond is formed due to donation of electron from filled d orbital of metal to anti-bonding pi star orbital of carbon. And therefore we can say that this carbon monoxide, it is accepting the electron pair. That is why this CO is known as pi acceptor ligand, because it is accepting the electron in its pi star orbital. So CO is a pi acceptor ligand, and the metal to ligand bonding creates a synergic effect which strengthens the bond between CO and the metal. So this is all about bonding in metal carbonyls. Two bonds are formed. First is sigma and second is pi. The sigma bond is formed by the donation of lone pair of electron on the carbonyl carbon into vacant orbital of metal, and the pi bond is formed from the donation of electron from filled d orbital into vacant pi star orbital of carbon monoxide. So after doing this, you can solve NCERT exercise question number 20, 22, 25, 27 and 32. Now I will be discussing the homework solution of lecture number 6. First question is, draw figure to show the splitting of d orbital in an octahedral crystal field. So this we discussed in crystal field theory of octahedral complexes, that d orbital splits into T2g and Eg in octahedral crystal field. Next question is, what is spectrochemical series? Explain the difference between a weak field ligand and a strong field ligand. So the answer for this question is, spectrochemical series is the series in which ligands are arranged in increasing order of field strength, and weak field ligand has small value of field strength and the strong field ligand has large value of field strength. For example, in case of octahedral complexes, weak field ligand has small value of delta O and strong field ligand has higher value of delta O. Next question is question number 18. What is crystal field splitting energy? How does the magnitude of delta O decides the actual configuration of d orbital in a coordination entity? So first, the crystal field splitting energy, the difference of energy between T2g and Eg, that is known as crystal field splitting energy, and there are two cases. First is when delta O is greater than pairing energy, then electron they will pair up in T2g orbital, and the second case is when the magnitude of delta O is less than pairing energy, then the electron will go to Eg level. So next is in text questions, question number 9.5. Explain on the basis of valence bond theory that NiCN4 2 negative ion with square planar structure is diamagnetic and NiCl4 negative ion with tetrahedral geometry is paramagnetic. So first, in case of NiCN4 negative, the coordination number is 4 and the hybridization is DsP2. That is, this complex is square planar complex. Now here cyanide ligand is a strong field ligand and it will pair up the electron which is present in 3d orbital of nickel. So here this cyanide ion, it will pair up the electron present in 3d orbital and therefore no unpaired electron is present. That is why NiCN4 negative is diamagnetic in nature. But in case of NiCl4 negative, again here the coordination number is 4. But chloride ion being weak field ligand, it will not pair up the electron which is present in 3d orbital of nickel, and therefore nickel will use its 1s and 3p orbital for the hybridization, that is, it uses its outer orbital, and therefore two unpaired electrons are present in nickel plus 2, and that is why the geometry in NiCl4 negative is tetrahedral and it is paramagnetic in nature due to presence of two unpaired electrons. Next question is NiCl4 negative is paramagnetic while NiCO4 is diamagnetic, though both are tetrahedral. Why? Now here in first complex NiCl4 negative, the hybridization is sp3. Now chloride ion being the weak field ligand, it will not pair up the electron which is present in 3d orbital. That is why nickel will use its outer 4s and 4p orbital for the hybridization, and therefore it has two unpaired electron, and that is why it is paramagnetic in nature. But in case of tetracarbonyl nickel, that is NiCO4, CO, carbon monoxide, is a stronger ligand and therefore it will pair up these d electron with these 4s electron. That is, these two 4s electron, they will pair up with the electron which is present in 3d orbital, and therefore after pairing, this nickel will use 1 4s and 3 4p orbital for the hybridization. That is, in case of tetracarbonyl nickel, the hybridization is sp3, but now here pairing will take place between these two unpaired electron of 3d and two 4s electron, and therefore no unpaired electron is present, and that is why it is diamagnetic in nature. Next question is question number 9.7. FeH2O6 3 positive is a strongly paramagnetic, whereas FeCN6 3 negative is weakly paramagnetic. So the answer for this question is, here the oxidation number of iron in both the complexes +3. Now here water is acting as a ligand, and in second complex cyanide ion is acting as a ligand. Now water is a weak field ligand, therefore the electronic configuration is, according to crystal field theory, T2G3 Eg2. That is, it has 5 unpaired electrons. That is why it is strongly paramagnetic. But in case of FeCN6 3-, cyanide ion is a strong field ligand and therefore it will pair up the electron in T2G, and therefore the electronic configuration is T2G5 Eg0. Now in this case only one unpaired electron is present, that is why this complex is weakly paramagnetic. So in first complex FeH2O6 3 positive, it has 5 unpaired electron, and in second complex FeCN6 3-, it has 1 unpaired electron. That is why first complex is strongly paramagnetic and the second complex is weakly paramagnetic. Next is question number 9.8. Explain why hexaamine cobalt 3+ is inner orbital complex, whereas NiNH362 positive is an outer orbital complex. Now in first complex, the oxidation number of cobalt is +3, and when cobalt is present in +3 oxidation state, this ammonia, it will act as a strong field ligand, and therefore inner orbital complex is formed. Whereas in case of NiNH362 positive, here nickel is present in +2 oxidation state, and this ammonia, it will behave as weak field ligand. Therefore outer orbital complex will form in case of NiNH3 positive. Because this ammonia, it is acting as a weak field ligand, and therefore inner d orbitals are not used for the hybridization. And that is why this nickel, it will use its outer orbital, that is 4s 3,4p and 2,4d orbital for the hybridization, and that is why it is in outer orbital complex. So here in complex of cobalt, this ammonia, it is acting as a strong field ligand, and in case of nickel, it is acting as a weak field ligand. Next question is question number 9.9. Predict the number of unpaired electrons in the square planar complex, that is PtCN4 2 negative ion. So this is the complex of platinum, that is tetracyanidoplatinate, and the oxidation number of platinum is +2. So electronic configuration of platinum in +2 oxidation state is 5d8. Now here coordination number is 4, and in case of 5d, 8 electrons are present. Now cyanide is a strong field ligand, therefore it will pair up these 2 electrons which is present in 5d orbital, and therefore 1d orbital is vacant. Now in coordination number 4, 1d, 1 6s and 2 6p. These orbitals are used in the hybridization, and therefore the hybridization is dsp2. Now all the electrons are paired in 5d. There is no unpaired electron. That is why this complex has no unpaired electron. Next is question number 9.10. MnH2O6 2 positive ion contains 5 unpaired electron, while MnCN6 4 negative contains only 1 unpaired electron. Explain using CFT. So here manganese is the central metal atom, and in first complex water is acting as a ligand, and in second complex cyanide ion is acting as a ligand. Now water is a weak field ligand, whereas cyanide ion is a strong field ligand. Now this is the electronic configuration according to CFT. In case of first complex, it is T2G3 Eg2. So it has 5 unpaired electron, whereas in second complex, cyanide being the stronger field ligand, it will pair up the electron in T2G, and therefore the electronic configuration is T2G5 Eg0. That is, it has only 1 unpaired electron. So this is the diagram for first complex, that is hexa, aqua, manganese +2. In T2G it has 3 electron, and in Eg it has 2 electron. The electronic configuration is T2G3 Eg2. Because in this complex, this delta O is less than pairing energy. Therefore, the fourth electron, it will enter to Eg level, and therefore the electronic configuration is T2G3 Eg2. And here 5 unpaired electrons are present, whereas in case of MnCN6 4 minus, this delta O is greater than pairing energy. That is why the fourth electron, it will enter into T2G level, and that is why in T2G5 it has 5 electron, and therefore it has only 1 unpaired electron, whereas in first complex it has 5 unpaired electrons. So these are the explanation using CFT. So these are the questions I gave you in lecture number 6. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe this channel.